voting for you in this upcoming election?
Yeah, so full transparency, I had never voted before, ever. Um, and because I was one of those people who was like, my vote doesn't matter, and and I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger, maybe it's because I really thought that, or I don't know, but I just think that it's got to, now this is a bit of a privilege to say it's got to a breaking point for me because obviously it's been past the breaking point for Black people, but I think that as a whole, the young people need to get out and vote because we're the ones that never show up. You know what I mean? We never show up to vote, but we're the future. So it's like, look, we got to go out there and vote, and then whatever happens, happens. But at least we did our part. You got to do your part.
You're very candid in saying that you just decided to vote, and I think there's a beautiful irony in the fact that you have your fans saying, "Because of you, I'm voting."
Right.
And there's something beautiful about that. But I want to know why now for you. Why in this moment is it important for you to vote? And what hit your
Sério, estes
spirit to say,
gajos
yes,
aqui.
this is the
Opa,
time to
isto
do it?
dá-me uma raiva.
Honestly, because I think that George Floyd really woke up a lot of people who, including myself, who I was vocal and outspoken about racism. I put it in my lyrics. I put it on T-shirts. I would talk about it in interviews. Like, I was vocal about it. But that video in that moment, I think me along with a lot of other people just kind of was like, all right, like words are simply not enough anymore. We gotta do something, whether it's raising money, whether it's voting or all the above. Like we got to do something, and I'm ashamed that it took that for me to be like, I need to raise money and I need to vote. It's a shame, and I don't know. I guess it snapped a bunch of people out of it. And even if you
Mm-hmm.
were vocal and whatnot, it's time to actually put your money where your mouth is. It's time to go vote. It's time to
Ok,
just
estava a meter o
stop
título. Não
talking
sei,
about it
não
and be
sei.
about it.
Não sei mesmo. Só vou fazer live por aí.
In terms of what you're excited about.
I think you know what it's gonna do for me. It's gonna let me know that I'm contributing to something bigger than myself.
Estou só a ajeitar a câmera, malta. Depois faço screams. Se eu tiver gente suficiente a ver, eu faço. Eu faço. Pronto, eu faço.
And so I know it's gonna feel good to know that I played a small role. And that's the problem. I think the mentality of like my vote doesn't matter needs to be changed to my vote, albeit small, does matter. It's a role I'm playing, and if I play my part and you play your part and he and she plays their
Eu não
part,
queria estar a tapar.
then we make a difference. But it'll feel. I have a feeling it's gonna it's gonna feel very, very bigger than me. And I think when you realize that giving uh, actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to do your part and contribute. So voting is an easy way to give. You know.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is required, and you have been given a huge platform, and we are so
Eu acho
grateful
bem
for you, Russ.
estarem a começar a
Philanthropist,
falar
artist,
mais
community
disto,
activist, first time voter. We appreciate you for
porque
doing
Yes.
this, okay?
ando cada vez a
Thank you. I
abusar mais,
appreciate
mas
y'all.
tipo, acho estranho só terem começado agora a falar sobre o racismo que tem acontecido. Boas coisas.
So cities like Atlanta and Chicago have been at the
Acho
forefront
estranho
of the
só terem
discussions,
começado a
especially now
falar
in this
agora.
country when we're talking
Não
about
sei.
COVID-19 and systemic
É um bocado
racism,
estranho.
as well as police brutality and what we can do in this country. Again, we're continuing our conversation, letting you know that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. We can change where we are in this country. Currently, I'd like to welcome in Chicago Cubs right fielder Jason Hayward. I appreciate you. I brought in Atlanta and Chicago because I know you grew up in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, more specifically McDonough. Let's be technical, and and you have been very vocal throughout this entire time in terms of what our country's been experiencing.
Os
Let's look at the
pronomes e o bot.
past month and a half, if you will.
Tá
What
aí,
has
o
been the
bot.
hardest thing for you to deal with?
The hardest thing for me to deal with, Carrie, this last month has just been going from the virus
Querem
shutting
que eu faça
everything down to
customs a seguir disto,
us
malta?
being called to action.
Tento partilhar.
We've
Não
had
a ver.
multiple police brutality situations. We've had people protesting, wanting to get the message out. But I really realized that I need to be a part of the positive message and make sure that doesn't get lost in all the chaos going on for people to actually hear from a reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved.
A reasonable, respectable person who cares about everyone involved, which leads us to More Than a Vote. It is a beautiful collective of Black athletes and artists. You are a part of that. Talk to me about why that's important for you right now and this be a part of that collective.
To me personally, it's important to be a part of that because I've somewhat used baseball and my craft as an excuse to not get more involved in voting. But I can't any longer use baseball and work as an excuse not to get educated and not also to show people like at any moment in time, any walk of life, we can make a difference.
Não,
So
depois
tell
nos
me
crimes
in your
eu meto
words,
a
what does
câmera mais
activism look
pequena.
like for you?
In my words, it looks like LeBron James, the biggest athlete right now on the planet, speaking up and breaking the ice for everyone. And I think for the first time, people see
Já repararam
hear
como
from
a
us. So
mulher
now
está
we
mesmo
have
com a,
white teammates, we
com a
have
lágrima
teammates,
na
we have
ponta do
other
olho?
people speaking up and realizing, okay, like this is how we go about doing this. And to me, right now,
As cenas
social
do
media,
racismo têm abusado
athletes
muito.
speaking up, entertainers speaking up, like we're trying to do with More Than a Vote.
You said
Só me
something I
pergunto
thought
é
was so
porque
key because
agora,
covering
nesta
sports for
altura,
so
tipo
long, I
coronavírus,
know
tipo...
that it's tough for Black players specifically in Major League Baseball to talk about how they feel. Adam Jones did it in a very eloquent way early on, but there are very few that are vocal. You said
estranho.
you all were afraid. Why use that word and why were you afraid?
You was afraid because in 2019 there were 68 of us total, and there are 38 teams. There's 25-man roster on each team. There's a 40-man roster, which is on each team as well. And there aren't many of us. So we're outnumbered in that sense, but not always in a negative way when it comes to our teammates and our clubhouses. But to get to this point, you have to move a certain way. You got to be careful what you say. You can't ruffle feathers. You can't come off in any way. Much like other Black entertainers, much like yourself, probably having to live through life every day. But to get to the highest level, you got to button up. You got to be seen and not heard. So baseball is, like I said, it was time for us to try and speak up and make a difference and show it's okay to do so because we can't be quiet any longer.
That is a button up, be quiet, be seen but not heard. That is an expression that a lot of Black folks can relate to in whatever aspect of professionalism that they experience, especially if they don't work for themselves. They just feel that. That is also a socialization that we have as Black folks, especially like you said, if you want to get to the higher level. And for so long, I felt it bubbling right underneath the surface that so many of us who were in whatever positions we were, who had platforms, were tired of pretending and looking the other way and spending so much time making others comfortable
Eu não
while
sei se
we
devia
were
estar a ver
uncomfortable.
isto.
Do you feel
Não sei, mas é
that this
estranho
is
enquanto estou
the type of movement that is sustainable, or is it just for a time?
No, it takes everyone joining in on the conversation, and right now I feel like more than ever there is little things as possible to distract from bigger issues. And we saw on draft day, we saw our president Theo Epstein holding up the sign saying Black Lives Matter and wanting to include the rest of the MLB in that. But now we're having those conversations as well. So I definitely think this is sustainable, and it's not always just going to be the popular thing to do. This is something that people want to get right because they know we care.
Jason, you said you think it's sustainable, that what you're seeing, especially with your colleagues in baseball, that this can be something where you're feeling more comfortable, feeling more safe to share how you feel about social injustice and police brutality. What are you doing right now in this moment with your platform to help change how we look at voting and how to educate the culture and the community about voting?
Well, first, what I'm doing, Carrie, is joining up with More Than a Vote and joining up with other athletes and entertainers to get that message out and use our platform in that sense as a group. And try to create a brand with this to make it something that's not just about the election coming, make sure that it's about people getting educated for years to come and figure out where to vote and how to vote. We've got people in different areas that cover different demographics and influence different areas of people. And as a baseball player, as a Black baseball player, I feel like now, like we talked about, is finally the time to show people that you can use your voice in this profession. you don't have to be afraid.
Tu consegues
And to
trocar,
me, that can
Gonçalo.
help someone,
Faz
help a kid
pontos
growing
de
up. He can see
exclamação
me, he can see other guys that we were in the video we
TITLE
posted
e
saying,
depois
hey,
escreve o
this is
título
what
que
they're
queres.
standing for. They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not something I have to be as afraid of as I was before. So I feel like that's my role in this. I have a younger brother as well. He's 24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to lead by example. I can't just always, come up with a good answer that sounds good on TV. When I get asked a question on, what do we need to do to make changes? I'm joining up here to make sure that I take action and get educated myself.
É
For
tipo
one,
um
so
comando,
many
faz pontos
people,
de
I feel like in
exclamação
Atlanta, they're on the move. Well, when you
TITLE, que
want
é
to try to make
title,
a vote and try and cast your vote, you have
título
to
em
do it
inglês,
by mail. You have to sign up for the absentee
e
ballot. Then you have
depois
to get another
escreve o
ballot in
título que
return.
queres
They have to
meter.
send it back to you. Well, for me
Trata só
personally,
disso.
they didn't send that back until it was too late. Right? We didn't get it in the mail to the address that's an Atlanta address at my parents' house. We didn't get that in the mail until it was too late. And then from other friends and family that are still in Georgia right now, I just hear about them being held in lines too long and trying to get off work. And we know how it is for any family, but let alone a black family in the city or in the suburbs trying to take care of their family and trying to provide for them. You try to get off work, and then you're like, wait a minute. You start looking at the clock. It's like, oh, this is not going to happen today, right? And so I saw, Mayor Keisha Bottoms, reach out via social media to people and say, hey, I'm going to address these issues right now. I need y'all to stay in line to cast your votes. Keep hanging in there. So to me in Georgia, that's what that looks like.
Well, it's interesting that you even bring that up because there have been all these images, specifically from Georgia, because that's such a battleground, where you see people, especially when it came to the primaries, doing whatever it takes. And this is real life voter suppression that you're talking about. It's been happening for decades. It's not fake. What you're saying, these examples of sending you your ballot too late after the fact or shutting down the polls at 6 o'clock while people still are in line, that's a real life issue. There needs to be some type of change. And I think that what we're doing right now is fair. But the idea of voter suppression, do you think that that is well known, especially with folks, within the generation, your generation?
I think it's known in our communities, right? I don't think it's spoke on enough. I don't think there's been enough light drawn to it. Bring it to light. Let people hear about it. Let people learn about what that looks like. And get more people to say, okay, look, like this is going to happen. We have to expect this, and we can no longer make the excuse. We can't say they didn't warn us.
Jason, everybody knows, or it feels as if everyone knows that the time is now. America's paying attention to us. We have their eyes. We have their ears. If you look toward the future, what are you most excited about in terms of seeing a change?
I'm excited about how fast the word is traveling. The word is being spread right now. The biggest athletes, the biggest icons, biggest entertainers are doing their part, but I'm also seeing people out there on the streets doing their part.
Isto é
When
estranho
so
de
many
ver em
things
stream,
got
eu
lost,
não vou estar a ver
look out
isto.
in the,
Porque eu não sei,
promotion when
o
it
que
came to
falar sobre
protest
isto.
and you saw
Salve o
rioting, saw
Flix, eu não
looting.
sei o que falar
People
sobre
still
isto,
stood their
meu.
ground. People still went out there and said,
Eu não
look,
apoio
we're doing this for the
o
right
racismo.
reasons. We're going to come together. We're
Não,
going to use drones. We're going to use social medias.
não
I feel
faço
like it's the new
racismo,
wave of getting things done the right way and just spreading the message.
mas tipo,
You're right
só
about
acho
that, and you're
desnecessário
right.
que
People
as
are
pessoas estarem a
spreading the
fazer
word
isso.
unapologetically. We out here,
Mas
we
não sei o
doubling
que
down.
dizer sobre
Thank
isto,
you so
mano.
much. I appreciate you.
Right.
Eu vou ter de sair disto, mano. Posso entrar no jogo? Não, desculpa. Ok, eu pensava que estava. Esqueçam. É que eu não sei mesmo o que falar. Esquece isso, console, não dá. Ok, já está. Portanto, portanto. Renegade censuradas. Malta, querem fazer personalizadas, customs, ou querem que eu vá à Arena Solo? Digam-me aí nos comentários, se faz favores. Ainda não tinha visto a loja hoje, por acaso. Já tenho todas as danças. Soltou som em... Você consegue me ouvir? No evento da tempestade. Logo. Não me adicionou, não. Ai, cara, você não lê os comentários, eu leio os comentários, leio. Leio os comentários, leio, mano. Olhem, eu vou à Arena Sol. Queres que eu te dê o emote? Só tenho 1050 V-Bucks, que é para o... É para... Ai... É para o passe, é para o próximo passe. Já te adiciono, Wolf. Mas eu disse que não ia jogar com ninguém agora, a não ser que fosse customs. Eu ando a perder bué fama porque eu fui a um torneio que foi a noite da fama mais. Eu quis arriscar e depois eu só fiz 3 pontos e eu quis desistir. Mas quando eu quis desistir, nessa altura eu tinha-me esquecido que eu perdia pontos. Então eu perdi 300 pontos. 300 pontos, mano. Vocês sabem o que é 300 pontos? 300 pontos é uma dor, mano. É uma dor. É uma dor que vocês nem têm a noção. Meu Deus. Go crazy. Bora, malta. Partilhem a live. Assim ajuda-me também a crescer mais rápido. Fuck. Não há nada. Não há armas. What the fuck? Okay. Oh não. O jogo trava assim. Nice, temos estática. Temos estática. Querem ver este gajo dar-me chitone? É ele que me vai dar, não sou eu que me vou dar. Tem lá, atenção. Olha o gajo. Vou morrer, mano. Juro-vos, eu tive uma sorte. Eu tenho com cada sorte, mano. Está lá em cima. Que raiva, mano. Olá, Joana Bill. Como é que encontras esses gajos da Divisão 6? Pois, também gostava de saber, mano. Vou adicionar o Wolf. Wolfie. Shark. Não. Oito, dois, três. Ok. Já está. Aquele era mesmo batata. Bora, guys! Gonçalo. A Joana é a minha colega da escola. Por isso sim, ela já é minha sub. Colega. Sim, o que é que tem? Vai-te lixar, Gonçalo. Tu vai-te lixar, mano. Eu juro. Oh, mano, para só. Não tens piada. Se pensas que estás só porque estás modo e não te dou banho, estás completamente errado. Uhum. Sim, sim. Estavas de brincadeira. Claro. E eu tenho 6 braços. Juras? Está bem. Eu acredito em ti. Não te preocupes. Achas que eu te ia dar dano? O máximo dava timeout. Sim. Sim, Fortnite. Tudo o que eu preciso neste momento é mesmo uma sniper dourada. É mesmo isso que eu preciso. Para me sustentar a vida. Muito obrigado por pensares em mim. É mesmo isso que eu preciso. Obrigadão. Joinha. Mano. Oh, mano. Jesus. Hoje em dia a moeda XP em todo lado. Comando lag. Olha ali. O gajo não me acerta nenhum tiro. Só que é mais incrível. Jura que o gajo fugiu. Ai! Ai! Filho da... Não. Estes gajos não merecem morrer. Enterrados, como toda a gente. Ele está-me a vir rechar. Tu é que pensas assim, sei lá, mas pega e há que bosta, né? São roxos. Tá bom. Zé. Então vou. fiquei reparo, não falei. Let's go, bro. Bem, malta, a stream acabou. Vamos ficar por aqui. Espero que tenham gostado. Foi grande live stream. Tivemos imensos likes. Tivemos 4. Não, tivemos 4.000. Não, 7 likes. Eu não dei like. Não dei. Não. Espero que tenham muito gostado esta live stream. E tchau, malta.